And the situation could get worse for them, which brings us to our next story. The World Bank has put out a dire prediction. It affects all of us. It believes that the global economy may fall into a recession next year. These reports are released frequently. They give us a sense or a broad assessment of the global economy. While the fears of a global recession are not new, many experts were optimistic that a soft landing is possible. But this latest assessment is now sounding like an alarm. We might be getting closer to a recession. Investors are not taking any chances, however. Indian markets crashed today. The Sensex fell by over 1,000 points and the Nifty by over 300 points. Next week, central banks of the United States and the United Kingdom are expected to increase interest rates yet again. And we, of course, will keep a track of all these developments.
Hello everyone. Many news are coming that the world is going to recession in 2023 and the stock markets are also falling globally. Before going to understand whether recession will occur or not, we have to understand what is recession and how it will affect our lives. If we will see the definition of recession, then it will be a significant decline in economic activity spread across the economy of a country. If we will understand this through example, then when the demand of consumers for the goods and services decline because of rising prices and low liquidity of cash. Here low liquidity of cash means before recession the demand of consumers were in the peak, and this leads to the simple economical theory, demand and supply. As we talked before happening of recession, there were high demands and the supply is still not so high to fulfill the demand of consumers. That's why it leads to rising of prices, which is also called inflation. After this scenario of inflation, the government needs to control inflation, and that's where government will implement some monetary policies on the economy, such as increase of repo rate, and this will lead to high interest rates on loans. Because of high interest rate, people would not borrow money from bank. This is where people have not so much of liquid cash to spend, and this is called low liquidity of cash. After all these facts, when the demand of consumers at its lowest phase, then the firms or companies would try to curtail their production to the lowest, and because of this, they would fire employees to minimize their expenses. In fact, when employees will be fired by the company, then they would become unemployed. Now they will have no money to pay rent or bills, and this would affect as a chain reaction. Many small businesses would go bankrupt, and because of high interest rates, the banks would not get customers to borrow money, and banks would also collapse. After all these facts, recession also occurs because of the business cycle. You can see the image on the screen. It is the business cycle graph, where you can see after achieving the peak level, there is a downturn, which is called the recession, and at the bottom it's called trough level. After achieving the trough level, there is an upward turn in the graph, which is called recovery, and it will continue this cycle every time. In recession time, the stock markets also fall, and it's a good opportunity to buy good company stock at discounted price. Now we have understood what is recession and how it will affect our lives. And now we will understand whether the 2023 recession will occur or not. If you take a look at the previous recession, which happened in the year 2008, this occurred because of the real estate bubble burst, which means in 2008, banks in the USA were giving loans to anyone through investment banks to invest in real estate. Investment banks were selling those loans to customers by the fancy name of MBS, which is mortgage-backed securities. When this situation came in front of people, it leads to panic situation and global recession. It was the summary of 2008 recession, but come to the point of 2023 recession. In this case, the main player is Credit Suisse, which is an investment bank. It has offices in 26 countries with 78 cities. The main reason behind in this situation is CDS. CDS means Credit Default Swap. The Credit Suisse issue bonds to continue their operations and raise money through it. An investor can take insurance against these bonds to protect their investment risk. Let's understand this through an example. Suppose Credit Suisse issued a bond for 5 years at the rate of 5% interest. So whenever the investor wants to purchase an insurance against this bond, then he or she has to pay a premium amount on it. But the catch over here is the premium amount wholly depends upon the risk. If it's a high risk bond, then the premium will be high and vice versa. If we'll see the financial statement of Credit Suisse, then this company is in losses now after all this panic has been created. The problems which are arising because of the internal factors of the company, first is risk management failure, second is money laundering, and third is scandals. Every investment banks have a risk management department, and the role of this department is very important. Let's understand this case through one example. Greensill is a non-banking supply chain finance company. This company provides supply chain finance across the globe. To run these operations of the company borrows money from investment banks, and Credit Suisse is one of them. Then Credit Suisse convinced their customers to invest in Greensill because this was a good opportunity. If the customers of Credit Suisse invested $10 billion in Greensill, now the question over here is, what is supply chain finance? Supply chain finance is also like invoice discounting. Suppose Adidas wants to sell worth rupees 1 crore of shoes to Amazon. Then Amazon will not pay the amount immediately to Adidas. Here a concept of credit period arises, which allows the purchasers to pay that amount after 30 days, 60 days or 90 days. Suppose 90 days is the credit period in our case. So Adidas sold shoes worth rupees 1 crore, but Adidas would get payment after 90 days. Within that time, if Adidas would need funds to run their business, then they would approach to Greensill and give the bill of that rupees 1 crore. After all, Greensill would approve the loan not worth rupees 1 crore, but rupees 80 lakhs to rupees 90 lakhs. In the case of Greensill, this business was running great, so they started to discount the future bills. That means the sale would occur in future, but the loan is approved in present. Credit Suisse had not been aware of these risks, so now they are losing their money in it. Then the name of Credit Suisse came in front of money laundering cases. After this, top management personnel were resigned from their posts. This brings me to the conclusion part of the video. If we would compare these facts with the 2008 recession, then the 2008 recession was fully based upon external factors, and some of the faults were from investment banks. In the case of Credit Suisse, the major problem came from internal factors, and Credit Suisse is working on their restructuring plan. If recession would happen, then the reason would be high inflation, not because of Credit Suisse. Thank you so much everyone for giving us your valuable time and watching our video till the end.